changes. They've survived. No, they've survived position changes. What I mean is they're athletes. They're athletes. They have changed schemes. They've changed positions. They've changed systems. They've changed coaches. But they're like roaches. When the lights come on, they're still there. After the nuclear bomb goes off, they have survived, whereas everything else has been destroyed. And Obi continually proves his value. That's what I'm talking about. And he's coming down to the squeeze. But I think this, especially Pettin being defensive minded, I think they value guys that contribute on special teams. So if nothing else, I think there's a spot on this roster for him there. But and I would hope so, because I like what he brings. Plus, at the end of the season, when guys get banged up, Tate is a guy who has gotten injured. West may get banged up with his physical style. If Lewis even makes the team, he's got injury concerns. So there's always things to worry about. Obi is valuable because in week 12, he can be your halfback and give you an effective halfback. It may not be what your starter's giving you, but he can play that position. He can fill. He's such a multi-purpose guy that there's always a spot for me on a roster for a guy like that.
Right, and that's a sign of a great football player. Like you said, being able to survive those different regime changes to show that you're really a true NFL player who can play on any team, under any coach.
Yep.
You know, there's something that you can do well that they need you to do. And it would be great if he could hang on all the way through it, because like you said, sometimes we've come down to the end of the season and we're like, who is this guy carrying the ball for us? I've never heard of him before. You know, someone who's maybe just been on the practice squad or has been pressed into service in weeks 14 or 15. And it'd be great, especially if these are, you know, important games down the stretch, if it's somebody like Ogbonnaya who, you know, has that kind of experience and who you can trust to run the ball and get just those tough yardage.
Absolutely. You're listening to the Sports Fix. Jeff Gorman from Browns 101 talking to J-Rock here. That's me, by the way. If you're just joining us here on the show, we're talking a little bit about the Browns heading into Monday Night Football. And again, a lot of these position battles really going to be key here. For those of you that look for a reason to watch the second half of a preseason game, there's going to be even more competition Monday night than usual internally, because of the quick turnaround for the cut down. We talked about it yesterday. They will get an additional few hours, but still, first thing Wednesday morning, I believe, what are they at, 90 right now for the roster? The last
some of that,
the last number I got from the Browns last night, because they just signed a linebacker, obviously wanting to beef things up for the game this weekend. They signed Khalid McSurdy, who is a second-year NFL linebacker drafted by Dallas 2 years ago. Spent last season on the on the injured reserve, and then last year he was on the Rams practice squad. But when they signed it, they said the roster's at 90, so they're going to need to drop 15 players right off the top come Wednesday morning to get down to the first cut down of 75. So expect the internal competition in the second half to be feisty, because there's a lot of guys that know they have to put something on tape, whether it's for the Browns or for the next place that they try to catch on.
Right, especially because when they come back for the third game on Saturday night, that's going to be mostly the starters. That's the big dress rehearsal. So those other guys aren't going to get a chance to play much in the third game, so they're going to have to do something in the second game Monday night.
So that's something I look for here this weekend with stuff. Jeff, I don't know, man. The public part of training camp is wrapped up. I mean, really, beginning Monday, they're into prepare for the regular season mode. They get into the weekly, getting things together with the meetings and the certain days of practice, and then we get ready for the game. They get into all of that game day mode. What are your thoughts on training camp thus far, and the public portion at least, as we head into the second half here? What are your thoughts, good, bad, and ugly?
Well, I think it's been very good. I think the fact that, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell because we really only have played one game. But just the fact that nothing terrible has happened, none of our major players have been injured, that's usually
always
the best
good
thing. And, everyone's sort of coming together, learning the new system. Nothing too controversial has happened, despite the media's attempts to do so. I think that the fact that we've seen, like I said, the younger players, the guys that have been drafted have been really impressing people. And one person that I haven't mentioned, that we might want to watch out for on Monday is Travis Benjamin as a wide receiver. I mean, the Browns website came right out there on its front page and said, that Benjamin did a really good job the other day catching passes from Manziel and from Hoyer, and that he might be a factor as a wide receiver because, Burleson is going to be hurt, and, if some of these other guys haven't been catching the ball, and if Benjamin can do so, then he might be a big part of this team as a wide receiver. You never know.
No, absolutely, and his speed's going to keep him in that discussion as well. I expect him to get – I saw that same article as well. I expect him to get a lot of run here as they try to sort that out. They've got – and they do. They have to sort out that wide receiver breakdown. And of course, the sooner they get a Josh Gordon ruling, the better. Speaking of, I saw Dwayne Bowe suspended for a game by the NFL for failing the marijuana policy as well. So, I mean, hey, at least he didn't commit a serious crime, because then he would have missed 2 games instead of 1. But
right, yeah.
Anyways, I noticed that. But Josh Gordon, again, another week went by. They weren't playing when they said 1 to 3 weeks, man. They meant 3 weeks or more because it's been what, 2 now since they had the appeal, right?
Yeah.
And still nothing coming out of that. So
Browns
fans holding out hope that that's a good thing. We'll see about that. But yeah, Benjamin he's got an opportunity here to try to put himself in. I'm up and down on him because he's gotten chances in camp here. Dropping balls has been a big problem of him. I know for every one he drops, he catches one. But again, that's like the Indians. For every one they lose, they win one. You're still 50-50 at the end of the day. And all of them. The coaches keep saying that will get better when the games count. But, man, I look at dropping passes like tackling. I don't think it gets better when the lights come on. Sometimes you run faster when the lights are on. You run harder. You hit harder when the bright lights are on. That I do agree with. But I don't believe you tackle. If you're a sloppy tackler in the preseason, you're going to be a sloppy tackler in the regular season. So if your team, which by the way, that is something I'm looking for in the last 3 preseason games from the Browns, is they had better tackle better than they did in the first game because those things carry over. If you can't tackle now, you're not going to tackle in Pittsburgh, and that's going to be last year. I mean, on top of all the other problems last year, they couldn't tackle, and that's always a recurring problem with them. But that's one of those things that I believe doesn't change. Dropping balls is the same thing. If you drop balls a lot in the preseason, you're going to drop some balls. Maybe you'll catch more in the regular season because you're focused, but you're going to drop them too because you tend to drop balls. I mean, I don't think that is the light that comes on. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, especially as far as the wide receivers go, because it's not like we've got a bunch of established wide receivers and, well, they're just getting ready for the season to start, and, well, maybe they're not concentrating very well. These are guys who are desperately battling for a job. And if they don't get it, they're going to be out of a job. They're going to be unemployed. And their only recourse is to get open and catch the ball. And if they can't do it when their actual livelihood is on the line, then that's a problem. So I think in the next couple of games, it's going to be interesting to see who can actually catch the ball and say, yes, I deserve a job on this team as a wide receiver because I caught these balls and that other guy dropped his.
Let me give you a baseball equivalent. Okay, in spring training. Okay, to me, if you're a wide receiver, then catching passes is the absolute core skill set of what you do on top of your speed and route running. Obviously, your hands are one of your core skill sets. Tackling is one of the core skill sets of football. To me, this would be like in spring training, if the outfielder cannot catch the fly ball, and then Terry Francona comes in and goes, yeah, Murphy's been dropping a lot of flies out there and left and right this week, but you know what? He's just kind of getting ready for the season. Once the lights come on and we start playing, he'll be catching those fly balls that he's been catching since high school or whatever, But that doesn't happen. If you're not catching fly balls, you're not on the team. There is no, and same thing. Well, he keeps running to third instead of first when he hits the ball, but we're sure that once the season starts, no. These are the basics. If you're not getting those right in spring training, we got problems. And to me, that's the same equivalent. Tackling and catching the ball, those are like catching pop flies. Those are like running to first. They're the basics of what you do. And if you're screwing them up now, you're going to screw them up all season long.
Especially because this is your actual job. I mean, even when you're playing on the practice field, even if you're home with your buddies, you can have people just throw the ball to you. You can catch. You don't have any other job. You don't have to go to work at the office. You don't have to work at Walmart. People can throw balls to you all the time, and all you have to do is just practice catching it and not dropping it. So that's really inexcusable for a wide receiver, especially one who is trying to beat somebody else out. You've got to catch the ball. I hope that some people will wow us on Monday night and the following Saturday night by their ability to make some good catches and prove that they belong on this team.
I'm just saying, man, I do radio. If I couldn't talk, this show wouldn't work very well. You write articles. If you couldn't type, if you couldn't write, your job wouldn't go very well. It probably wouldn't be your job. So, anyways, last question about the Browns, just your opinion, the public part anyway, until we get into the main second half here. How do you think Mike Pettine handled his first training camp?
I think he's done very well. Again, a situation where there's not too many problems, not too many disasters. A lot of times it's really a no news is good news situation. But we haven't seen any situations where the team is really out of their depth or he doesn't know what's going on. I think he's obviously been well coached enough. Not just from his high school days, but from with the Jets. That he knows how things are supposed to go, and I think he's made a pretty seamless transition. I think what's going to be important is, when the regular season starts, if this team is well disciplined and doesn't, as you talked about last week, doesn't make a lot of stupid penalties. I think the best thing that we'll see out of Pettine is, organization, a good clock management, of course, making good decisions down the stretch, but also a well-disciplined team that doesn't shoot itself in the foot because, it's hard enough to win in the NFL as long as you're not actively sabotaging yourself. So I would have to say so far so good. Hopefully he can avoid any self-destructive tendencies and prove that he's got, a level head on his shoulders, which he seems to so far.
I kind of agree with you about Pettine as well. I like a lot of the things that he's done here. I like the fact that he's been more straightforward, and some of the media doesn't like it this year than a lot of the previous guys that are here. He doesn't duck and run from questions. He doesn't do a lot of the coach speak. I mean, really, he's a genuine guy. I don't know if it's going to work out or not for him, but the problem I have with evaluating him is I've got notes. Matter of fact, it's over here in my pile of notes from the last years of the show of all the things Chud could do better the second time around, and he didn't get a second time around. So,
right.
And I'll tell you what, how that quarterback thing plays out is going to go a long way to determining if Coach Pettine here gets to drop a second stone cold stunner, or if he's one and done with the old Brownies, because that's going to go a long way to determining that. But I think back to this time a year ago and going, well, I don't like how Chud did this. Hopefully next year he could do better. Well, next year never came around for old Chud. And you know what? I'll tell you what. Looking back, though, I mean, that was doomed for failure from day one. I don't even know if he would have been a good coach or not. We never got the chance to really find out. But the one thing I did find out is that cat loved to go for it on fourth down, man. I mean, if you're a Madden going for it on fourth down kind of guy, he was your coach. So to me, though, that's sometimes too much is too much of that. But anyways, he's gone and Pettine's here. I just find it funny because who knows if we'll be talking about his changing things next year. But I do. I think for a guy in his first camp, he had and a lot of distractions. You got to realize that, too. There was a lot of distractions here that weren't there because of Manziel and the quarterback and all the media attention. I thought he did a pretty good job with that, and we'll see. We'll see when the roster shakes out how he did as far as picking the talent that's on the field. But a lot of that is not him. That's Ray Farmer that goes above him. But we'll see, man. The quarterback's going to define it, though. No matter what. The quarterback is going to define it if it goes wrong or if it goes right. And hopefully for him, like I said, to me, the best thing for him or for the Browns is everything stays status quo, because then the future is still ready to go at the pull of a trigger, and the present doesn't get compromised as well. But so hard to evaluate, completely his preseason, but with the amount of distractions, I thought that he's done pretty well. And for the most part, and I like some of the different things that he brought to camp as well. But we won't really get a feel for him as a head coach until the bullets are real and not just preseason. But I like the way he handled a very distracting camp.
Right, and that makes it seem like if he won't have these many distractions, in future years, if he comes back for future years. But yes, he showed a good head on his shoulders, a good ability to make solid decisions. And you talked about him being straightforward and stuff. I think that's something that the players will appreciate, because a lot of times players will leave a team and they'll say, "Oh, well, I didn't get a fair shake. I was told one thing, and I was actually something else happened." Players really pick up on if somebody is genuine like that, and they'll have a lot of loyalty, and they'll really fight hard for a coach who they believe in and who they feel genuinely believes in them.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, that ended up hurting Chud, I mean, I've talked to some of the guys on the team, and even some of the ones that had a high level of appreciation for Chud after he got fired have said the minute certain guys in the locker room figured out that he was being pulled around by the front office and that he was really a puppet. Not that it was by his choice. It's not like he was but he realized it. Once he realized the situation that he was truly in, he didn't realize it from the get-go because you're happy to get your